Hey guys, we're back with another video that I've been seeing a bunch of other, like this creator, the background NPC really popped off. I've seen some of her videos. I really like her commentary. I totally agree with her title. I feel like I am also have my last straw with Nintendo. I am honestly, I don't want to say waging war on Nintendo, but
So the Switch 2 is out, and honestly,
Nintendo, they're doing stuff that like and so anti-consumer friendly that I it's actually negative reinforcement. It's literally fueling me to make videos like criticizing them harshly because I feel like if we don't spread or draw the line in the sand that Nintendo or these other, not even Nintendo, these game companies can charge us whatever and release broken games, chopped up content, and then sell it to us later as an expansion. They're gonna keep doing that, and
I
I feel
wish I
like
could
I'm
say I
not
was
gonna let it
excited.
happen.
I really wanted to be excited. Like many 90s babies, I grew up on Nintendo. They were my
Ah, she's using Pal World footage in her bag. I'm already gonna like this video.
very first gaming love. And not just the games, but
Same. This was my first console. That was given to me by a family friend. But mind you, this was like 2005, so this console's already old. But this was technically my first console, and it was Nintendo.
the feeling of them, the wonder, the warmth, the way they pulled you into a world and made it feel like home. Ocarina of Time was the one.
Now, I never played
That really
a lot
evoked
of
something in
Zelda
me.
games, so I
That
don't really have.
opening in
But
Kokiri
Pokemon was my
Forest
thing.
with the Deku Tree, riding Epona across Hyrule Field, it all felt so massive. Like a real world was tucked inside a little cartridge. And then Majora's Mask came along, and my little self had never felt such anxiety. That
Yeah, guys, I was
eerie
just
mood,
still playing the
the
Game Boy
ticking
Color.
clock, the emotional side quests that made you care so much in so little time. It was the very first game that made me feel something beyond just fun. It was sad, confusing, kind of strange at times, and very deep. It wasn't just Zelda. I was obsessed with Super Mario 64, running
Yeah,
wild
Super
through
Mario was
Peach's
very good.
castle, jumping into paintings, discovering every secret star. That
But I played the
game
port
felt
on
like true
the
freedom.
DS.
And then there were classics like Kirby's Dream Land,
I played
Yoshi's
that one.
Story,
I
Donkey
played
Kong
that one.
64,
I did that
Star
one as well.
Fox, Metroid Prime, all
Yeah, those
completely
I played
different
those.
and wonderful in their own way. And every one of them had a vibe, a soul, that Nintendo spark that made it feel like you weren't just playing, you were being
Sh-
led in.
she's totally right. Like maybe it's nostalgia speaking, but she's absolutely right. Those older, like those Nintendo games, did have a spark. Like right, even now, it's probably nostalgia, but even if I like load up a Pokemon Platinum, like the opening screen and song, like it just takes me back. If I listen to the Mario Kart Rainbow Road from the DS, it takes me back.
In on something very special. And then my parents bought me the original DS.
Yes, I've
And
also got
just
that
like that,
one, the DS Lite and the DSi.
the whole thing was cracked wide open for me. That's how I found Animal
Now I have a story of how I got my DS Lite. It it was a snowstorm. I literally walked like 1 mile in a. It was a blizzard, with a hoodie, not even a jacket. I couldn't take the bus because it was, like I said, it was a blizzard and it wasn't running to get that DS. And I walked back home, and it was a white DS. And then the next week I got Pokemon Platinum. That was,
Crossing
I might be my
Wild
favorite game
World, and
for the
I
DS.
was hooked. I spent hours in that little village, rearranging furniture, writing letters, fishing for red snappers, and visiting my best friend's town during our weekly sleepovers. Even now, just hearing the soundtrack makes me very emotional. It takes me right back to those quiet, cozy
She's absolutely right. That's what Pokemon Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver does to me.
afternoons after school, all curled up with that clunky silver DS with nowhere else that I needed to be. Truly the epitome of nostalgia. I didn't know it then, but those games were helping to shape how I saw everything. Stories, characters, even myself. And for a while, it really felt like Nintendo understood how to make something that mattered. And it didn't stop there. I basically owned every major Nintendo console, starting with the N64, GameCube, Wii.
Yeah, I own basically everything from the Game Boy Color to the Switch 2 except the Wii U.
DS, 3DS, even the Wii U.
I own the 3DS, 3DS XL,
In my humble opinion,
Switch,
was ahead of its
Switch
time, by the way. But I owned all of
OLED,
them.
and Lite.
When the Switch was announced with Breath of the Wild, I was beyond excited. Like, very cringely crying at the announcement.
It should be a fun time for me, but my brother played Breath of the Wild. He has it. I never picked it up because I did not like that. I didn't, honestly, I wanted more frames and graphics, and I think the Switch 2 will provide that for me.
Trailer excited. As a Zelda fan, it was everything I'd ever wanted in a game, and to this day, it is still one of my favorites. That launch brought back so much of the old magic, which is probably why I held on for so long and I even wanted to work for them. Like, genuinely. I applied to corporate Nintendo PR jobs probably 15 to 20 times. I'm not even exaggerating. Back in 2019, I was pursuing PR, and when I got the opportunity to go to E3 that year, the very last E3, by the way, I actually
E3.
spoke with the Nintendo PR team in
I
person.
thought E3 died in 2016,
The
honestly.
Nintendo section of the event was so overwhelming and electric, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is what I want.
I gotta give it props to E3 though. Like, so quick flashback story time. I would say my childhood and teenage years were pretty awful. Like, really bad. But E3 did bring me joy for that month.
This is what I want to be a part of. So please hear me out. What we are about to discuss isn't coming from someone who's out to bash Nintendo. This is coming from someone
I think I'm definitely out the bat. I wouldn't say bash, but heavily criticize Nintendo.
who genuinely, wholeheartedly, even at times very cringely, loved Nintendo. And really believed in what I thought they stood for. But over time, I've started to realize that maybe Nintendo isn't the...
Hopefully I'm not getting older and becoming cranky. I hope I'm not. But like, I feel like when I see BS, I should try to spread or make it aware. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. But it is my opinion.
I thought they were. What I've seen over the last few years is that my nostalgia goggles have been working overtime, and they've kept...
That is true. I will never... I don't want to say never, but I will probably always buy all the Pokemon games.
...me from really seeing the true nature of a company that I once held so dear to my heart. So, let's dive in, and let's start with the release.
Like, I play Pokemon games, bro. I played the heck out of them. Like, I platinum my decks. I got the certificates and everything.
Of the Switch 2. It's officially out now, and sales are...
Not platinum the decks, fill up the decks. Jesus.
Booming. Records are being broken, and over 3 million units were sold worldwide on release day. People are also loving Mario Kart World, and I'm genuinely very happy for them. Yes, the game looks like a lot of fun. I just
honestly, the game is mid to me.
Because more than anything, I just feel
Mario Kart World is
tired.
mid.
At $450 or $500 if you get
to me,
it
it feels
bundled
like
with
there's no
Mario
difference
Kart World,
between
this doesn't feel like a celebration of the next chapter. It feels like Nintendo seeing how far they can stretch our loyalty, how much they can charge us for something that isn't even new, just a little bit newer. And
she's right. But to be fair, I only got the Switch with the Nintendo bundle because that's the only game I picked up for it. Nothing else interests me. I literally got the Switch, going back to Pokemon, I literally got the Switch to play Legends AZ when it comes out in October.
And listen, I'm not here to crap on Mario Kart. I actually really like Mario Kart. I do. It's one of those comfort games that's always been there, and it's attached to so many fond memories of playing with friends and family. But even though it looks fun, when that's the flagship title for a brand new console launch, I don't know, I personally just couldn't get behind the hype.
Yeah, same. I figured since we've been waiting a long time for Metroid Prime 4, I believe, they should have released that. Honestly, they should also release an upgrade version of Bayonetta 3. why Nintendo picked to buy that IP for a quote-unquote family-friendly company is beyond me.
feels kind of boring, safe, predictable. Nintendo isn't asking, hey, what's possible here? They're asking, what can we get away with? Because $80
Oops, sorry,
for
guys.
Mario Kart World, that's
I
not just a
forgot
new number.
to...
It's a shift in how this industry treats its players. And what surprises me, even though it
Yes,
shouldn't
my
at this
bad.
point, is that it's Nintendo.
That's why I have a vendetta against Nintendo. Because, you know, Xbox and Sony and everybody else who's gonna be clamoring for us to get our $80 from us. And if you're not the Monster Hunter team or From Software, you ain't getting nothing from me. Nothing.
Of all companies ushering in this new pricing standard. This wasn't them reluctantly following a trend that I know was inevitable, but this was them leading the charge, setting a precedent, establishing $80 as the new normal. And not with some expansive, genre-pushing new experience, but with an exact game formula that we've literally seen 16 times at this point. And it makes you
It's
ask,
true.
why? Because meanwhile, I'm looking at games like Helldivers 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Remnant 2, Claire.
Helldivers 2 is pretty good. Remnants from the Ashes 2, pretty good game. I'm impressed how good the game feels. Like, it's not floaty, which I hate floaty combat.
Skewer, Baldur's Gate 3, and so many more. Games that have real creative vision, some with massive campaigns, even some with fleshed out co-op systems, launching at...
Bro, like... So when I was a kid, it was all like AAA games for me, but now I'm getting older. I'm gonna be supporting the indie devs, man, because they're the ones who's really making innovations and exploring creative ideas in their games. Like these AAA people, they are like so greedy and all you see is dollar signs, and they release a slop.
At or below $60. And many of these games are taking risks and really pushing boundaries, and somehow they're still finding a way to be more accessible. So when Nintendo drops a new console and leads with yet another Mario Kart at a higher price than ever before, it doesn't feel like they're honoring their legacy. It feels like they're monetizing it. Like they're using it against us.
boycott
Actually, it kind
Nintendo.
of feels like a slap in the face. That stings pretty badly. And yes, to be fair, the Switch 2 is a technical upgrade. 4K visuals, better battery, smoother performance, more storage. It's all...
That's the thing. It's not better battery. Like I played Mario Kart World and literally an hour, and my battery went from 80% to 30%, which is crazy.
all technically better on paper, but it doesn't feel like a new era. It seems like a slightly fancier version of something that we already had. And for me personally, this realization of who Nintendo is not like a sudden moment of awakening. I've quietly been stepping back from them for a while now. Not because I stopped loving their games, but because I started seeing the patterns, the choices, and the shifts. And at this point, it's pretty clear that this Switch 2 release is not just about a new price tag or a genuine attempt at launching something new. It's just another step in the same pattern that's been repeating for years. Back in the day, this used to be the company that...
She's totally right. I feel the same way. Now I'm looking at you, Game Freak. You guys, if Legend AZ, if Gen 10, it's not like fantastic blowing out of the water, like, here, take my money. Ooh. Ooh.
that took risks, that made magic, that redefined entire genres and invited us into something truly special. But now, kind of just seems like they're relying on the fact that we'll show up no matter what, even though they are so often very anti-consumer. It's because they know our nostalgia runs incredibly
They're
deep,
not
and the
totally
more I've
wrong.
seen it, the
Nostalgia is
harder
one
it
hell
has
of a
been to
drug.
unsee. Nintendo has mastered something I can only describe as weaponized nostalgia. They've turned our childhood memories into
Yep.
a soulless business model, and the part that really hurts is that it works. It worked on me
Yeah,
for
it
so long.
works.
I've been the Nintendo fangirl
Pokemon
who's
got
bought the
me by
remakes,
the
re-releases,
cojones.
and updated ports, even though I knew deep down that what they were offering was not anything new. And looking back on it, I don't know, I guess it was because I didn't feel like I was buying a game. It felt like I was buying a memory. And Nintendo knows that. They know that we remember how it felt to blast through alien worlds and
Yeah, if they want to like sell you some memories, guys, they need to remaster and or remake Twilight Princess. They're literally giving that game the Bloodborne treatment.
Metroid Prime, or how it felt to spend hours raising your perfect Nintendo like it was your actual childhood pet. They know we feel these titles in a way that goes beyond gameplay. And they have perfected the art of re-releasing titles, sometimes only mildly updated at full price, locking legacy content behind paywalls and subscriptions, and offering nostalgia not as a gift, but as a heartless transaction. And just a quick side note that I found out while I was writing out this video. Do you want to talk about Heartless? Because I just found out that Nintendo actually replaced the voice actress for Princess Peach after 18 years. And they didn't even tell her. She found...
That's insane. Bro, imagine working for a company for 18 years and you don't know you're fired. That's insane. That's heartless. That's soulless. That's crazy.
out with the rest of the world when the new Mario Kart game came out. That's actually insane. But anyway, to get back on track, there's always been a huge difference between celebrating fan love and exploiting it. And for me, it seems like Nintendo has lived long enough to finally see themselves become the villain. So moving on from the Switch 2 release, at some point I started looking at how Nintendo treats the people who love their games. And what I found honestly broke my heart a little bit, because Nintendo doesn't just protect its legacy, they police it. Let's start with content creators. This is nothing new. For many
What is this?
years now, Nintendo has been going after them.
Oh, here we go. The suing. Okay.
Streamers, YouTube
The exhibit A of why I'm starting to hate Nintendo.
YouTubers, musicians, for doing what honestly most other gaming companies celebrate, sharing their love for the brand and its IP. Somehow I managed to
Yeah, like why have not like Nintendo has not got the idea that people who make videos on their games is literally free marketing. I literally got the Wii because people were making videos on it when I was like 12 years old. Like it's free marketing. Maybe it's the Japanese culture, but like that's crazy. Sony does it on their Japanese.
kind of turn a blind eye to most of this until the Point Pro situation. He was a YouTuber who was making these really incredible Breath of the Wild
Yeah, this guy's really talented. I've seen one of his videos and I was super excited for the next one, and he had to stop.
videos. Fun, creative, and totally original. And then one day, Nintendo claimed and struck 27 videos. No warning, no conversation, just straight up attacked. And it wasn't just
Bro, just like make the videos and put them on Patreon. Like that's like the best. Like the videos are so good that people might actually like pay for it.
his Breath of the Wild mods, it was any content that featured them, including other creators who had collaborated with him. It all got wiped out like a purge. And it made me pause because these weren't leaks and they weren't made to be malicious. It really was just fan content that was made out of love. And Nintendo really cracked down on it like it was a threat. And this was not an isolated case, one that has really stuck.
You know what it is? Maybe they took it down because his content was better than what Nintendo was cooking in the lab. And I honestly think that's what it is. Like Nintendo have lost the spark, the magic, the imagination to make good creative games.
With me was Gilva Sunner. If you didn't know,
They have finally joined the list of boring developers.
Gilva Sunner's channel used to be one of the only places online where you could find full Nintendo soundtracks. For years, Nintendo basically had these locked up very tight unless you were able to purchase a physical CD from Nintendo themselves. They weren't on Spotify, Apple Music, Nintendo's YouTube channel, no official platform to listen to any of it. And Gilva wasn't even trying to profit from this. There were no ads or monetization, just the original music uploaded for fans who wanted to relive the moments those songs came from. It was really a gift to the community. And then it was gone. Nintendo initially sent over 1,300 takedown notices, and after that, it was followed by another 2,200. The entire channel was essentially wiped out, and Gilva closed up shop. And I know this might sound a little bit dramatic, but that was kind of a big turning point for me when it came to how I viewed them. Just a little side note / confession, but as a former Disney adult who has learned the error of her ways, I feel pretty
I was never a Disney adult.
qualified to say this. Nintendo really is the Disney of gaming. They're wholesome on the surface.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's very full of magic and memories, but underneath, there's a very quiet, corporate, malicious control. And both companies know how to tug at your childhood heartstrings while handing
out. Yeah, I could totally see that. I was never a Disney adult, but I was definitely a Disney kid. And what Disney has done to the source material from my childhood, criminal.
Copyright strikes and ulterior motives on the side. At the time I was watching this unfold, the more I sat with what happened to Gilva Sunner, the more it made me wonder, why is Nintendo's music so locked away to begin with? These soundtracks have some of the most iconic songs in gaming. They were emotional, timeless, and they were very deeply personal for so many of us. And like I said earlier, Animal Crossing Wild World was my comfort game. And yet, at the time, there was basically no way for me to go listen to it legally. It felt like Nintendo had locked away their history in a vault, and they just would not let anyone open it up. And from there, I started noticing so many other examples. Fan games getting shut down.
Bro, Nintendo is literally acting like one of those, like spoiled kids who will like show you all their toys, and then when you start playing with it, he wants to like take it all back and go home.
Community passion projects being wiped out.
Which kind of checks out because Nintendo.
Listen, I get it.
Nintendo, I believe in their clause for the Switch 2 is you own the right to have the console, but you don't own the console. You own the right to play the games, but you don't own the games.
IP protection is
which is insane, and bro, that's extremely evil. I'm giving you real money, and I don't own the console. Who said? I forgot which person said. I want to say maybe Larry Fink, maybe somebody from Congress, possibly. The goal is for us to own nothing and be happy. So literally, your apartment, your car, everything you own is a subscription, and you own nothing. You're just constantly feeding them money, and you own nothing. That's insane. That's a dystopian future if I've ever heard of one.
Going out of their way to crack down on this, acting very aggressive, cold, and even heartless. Especially when you look around at many other companies, Sega, Capcom, Xbox, PlayStation, even some indie studios, and you see them amplifying creators, lifting them up, letting the fans be a part of the legacy. But Nintendo doesn't really do that. They continue to pull the plug again and again, and over time, I started wondering if maybe I'd just been giving them the benefit of the doubt simply because I grew up loving them. So at this point, after the Gilva Sunner takedown, I'd already started to feel uneasy. The creator takedowns, the fan projects, the legacy content, it was all feeling a lot more controlling than caring. But the moment that truly stopped me in my tracks was when I heard the story of Gary Bowser. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that.
Oh, I heard about this when this came out.
Diaries, which, by the way, Jack does an incredible job explaining.
I do like the modding scene. I do, for your consoles. Honestly, I enjoy modding consoles more than games, huh?
all of this. I'll link it in the description.
Honestly.
Now, I obviously knew at this point Nintendo could be very protective of their IP, but this
Yeah,
was on a whole
they.
other level. Gary was a part of a group called Team Executor. And
Yeah,
what they did was build and sell mod chips, little pieces of hardware that you could install in your Nintendo consoles to run
they came down on Bowser like, oh, that's crazy. His name is also Bowser, and the CEO is Bowser, and both of them are affiliated with Nintendo in some way. That's crazy.
homebrew apps, custom firmware, and yes, pirated games. But people also use those mods for stuff that wasn't necessarily piracy. They used it to run backups of games they already owned, or just experiment with the system for their own personal use, things that were really never going to be available through Nintendo directly. Gary essentially became the fall guy for the entire organization, and Nintendo came down on him in
Yeah,
a way
that
that
sucks.
was very extreme. In 2020, Gary was arrested at gunpoint in the Dominican Republic and extradited to the US. By 2022, he'd been sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay $14.5 million in damages, $4.5 million in restitution, and then
Yeah.
another $10 million from a civil suit. And after he got out early, he still owed all of it. And he started paying Nintendo back 25 to 30% of his monthly income, which at one point was just $25 a month from his prison library job. He'll basically be paying them for the rest of his life. When I heard that, my stomach dropped. I genuinely felt heartbroken for him. Yes,
Yeah, I
what he and
remember
the
when
rest
the
of team
story
were doing
broke.
was illegal, and they did profit off of it. But Gary was just one man. And are we really saying the punishment
And you know where I heard this that story from? Switch Force. See, you know if you watched my last video.
fits the crime here? Because whatever legal lines were crossed, this felt less like justice and more like hatred and wrath. And not just for what he did, but for daring to even touch Nintendo's closed system. And the part that really got me with this is Nintendo tried to get Sony and Microsoft to back them up here, to join the lawsuit and make it a united front against piracy. Both companies said no. Both
Oh, so that's like Nintendo acting like the popular pretty girl. You know, I've been watching Teen Wolf lately, and that's what I'm getting from season 1, like the popular pretty girl trying to get the second and third most popular student to like gang up on you as well.
Sony and Xbox, billion-dollar publishers in their own right, refused to be a part of it. Even they seemed to think that it was too far. And again, I am not here to outright defend piracy, really. There's a whole conversation to be had about access, preservation, and ethics, but this felt incredibly cruel and predatory. Nintendo did not just want to stop Gary from what he was doing, they wanted to make him an example. And for me, this was the defining moment when I knew Nintendo was no longer the company that I had loved for decades. And if you thought Gary Bowser's case was just a one-off or a legal overreach in a rare situation, it wasn't. Because not long after that, Nintendo set its sights on something much bigger and arguably much more telling. You might have already guessed it, but I'm talking about Palworld. You probably remember when it blew up. A very weird, chaotic blend of Pokemon style.
This is the straw that broke the camel's back for me. It's like they're so scared that somebody would have better ideas than them, that they're gonna just try to eliminate the competition, literally eliminate the competition. Like, just hire people with more creative ideas. Like, Nintendo need to start making risk again, like making risk with their games with creativity. Like, they're not doing any of that.
Creature
Especially with
and open
Pokemon.
world survival mechanics. It was very messy, it was wild, but it was so much fun.
Look
People were
at
very
that. Is AZ gonna look like this? Is Gen 10 gonna look like this? I think Palworld should sue Nintendo for not having for if Nintendo did deny them have Palworld on the Switch.
obsessed, myself included. And yes, come on, it clearly was inspired by Pokemon. That's not a secret. There was
And Nintendo cannot deny it because that would be against some sort of law to deny a console, to deny a game on your system. Because I've looked through the Nintendo eShop and there's some pretty messed up games in there, Nintendo.
little pals, you ride them, you battle them. It was Pokemon adjacent, absolutely. But here's the thing, it wasn't a copy. The characters were different. The art direction, tone, many mechanics were different.
It's not even the same type of game. It's similarity, sure.
Twist. And for the first time in years, fans were saying, why doesn't Nintendo try stuff like this? Instead of taking that feedback in stride, instead of rising to the challenge, listening, learning, evolving, Nintendo did what they've been doing for a while now. They sued. Together with the Pokemon Company, they filed a patent infringement lawsuit against the Palworld dev team. Not over character design, surprisingly, not even over branding, but over mechanics. Things like throwing a Pal Spear to catch creatures, using them in combat, riding them across the world. And because of all of this, the Palworld team had to actually go in and change all of those features. They stripped out mechanics that players loved.
Yeah, so Dragon Age should sue Nintendo for I guess Nintendo or Pokemon, you know, ripping off some Dragon Age characters designs.
Not because they were unethical, but because they simply couldn't defend themselves against a legal juggernaut. And just like with the Gary Bowser case, Nintendo tried to bring other companies into the fight. Sony and Microsoft were reportedly approached to back them again here, and again, they declined. They did not want to be a part of it. And all of this says a lot, because this could have been a big moment for Nintendo.
Yeah, they're being
Wake-up call,
bullies.
An opportunity for them to ask, what is it that people are
Scared
responding to?
bullies
Why are they so excited about
with
this?
fragile egos.
What can we learn from this? But instead of innovation, they chose litigation. And to me, it was not a stand for creativity or IP protection. The Pokemon formula has been around for literally 30 years. We all know what it is and where it comes from. And Palworld was not going to change that. No. This was Nintendo being a bully and swinging at anything that threatened the comfort of their complacency. They had an opportunity to grow, to evolve, to take advantage of someone already laying the groundwork for them, but instead, they chose violence. And after everything, the creator takedowns, the lawsuits, the
Yeah, like literally, guys, they could have like totally see what Palworld was doing, innovate on it with the same Pokemon formula, but like
of innovation, you think maybe Nintendo would at least try to get
honestly, they're spineless and scared, and they're just like they have a lot of money,
revisit classic titles, play old favorites,
and that's what they're literally making their enemies go with.
The reality has been frustrating at best. Games get added randomly. Some months it's not much. Other months it's one obscure NES title no one really asked for. Entire consoles like Game Boy Advance or N64 still feel incomplete, and sometimes titles will just disappear without warning or explanation. They're just gone. And now, with the launch of the Switch 2, I thought maybe they would just try to clean things up a bit. GameCube has finally joined the retro lineup, which is very
Yeah, like, dude, why don't we have the entire Pokemon DS collection on the Switch too? Like, what are they doing?
awesome. But they only added 3 games at launch: Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX. Like, yeah, that's a cool trio, I guess, but it's also pretty bare bones for a console with so many legendary titles. And yes, I know more are coming, but why launch with so few?
Because
why not
I
take
would
the easy way here
totally,
and
I
give
would totally pay to get that collection from all the from the mainline Pokemon games on the Switch too. Heck yeah, I would actually give them that for that virtual, not a virtual console. Like, I actually want to buy the game. I'm not paying them another subscription. Screw that.
for fans what they've been begging you for years. Beyond the catalog, the performance isn't always there either. Sometimes there's lag, some games have awkward control schemes, others don't support cloud saves. It doesn't really feel like a premium service. It feels like something Nintendo begrudgingly maintains, and definitely not something that they can be proud of. The thing is,
Yep,
I've
trying to
always
nickel
wanted
and
to
dime
support
you.
something like this. I actually am very happy to pay to play these games legally. I want to revisit the titles that shaped me in a clean, easy way, but Nintendo has made it so hard. It's like they're sitting on this treasure trove of nostalgia, this very beautiful, powerful legacy, and instead of sharing it or celebrating it with us, they keep it to themselves and withhold it. They kind of hold it over us like drugs, honestly, banking on the fact that we'll continue to play the part of the willing addicts who will be so happy for even the tiniest drop. It really is heartbreaking, but at this point, I'm not even really mad about it. I'm just tired and maybe still a little bit sad. Now, again, to be clear, this
Now I will be mad about it, and my hatred for Nintendo will be growing and fueling my criticisms. Because, and it's not just Nintendo, it's going to be any other company who's going to try to get my money while delivering crap to me, while delivering trash, delivering buggy messes to me, while charging me a premium, and I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to keep making videos just to vent. If a lot of people watch it, if you guys watch it and agree with me, spread the word. I would suggest you make your own videos and spread it.
this video is not meant
Just to show these companies that they don't really have any power, because they don't. Guess what, guys? They're doing all this that they think is the right thing to get our money. We have the power. They don't have nothing.
the Switch 2, or you're a part of Nintendo Online and you're
Except
loving it.
a lot of
It's
money
great,
on lawyers.
truly. I am not here to steal joy away from anyone. This video really is just to talk about how I can't ignore how much my own relationship with Nintendo has changed over the years. And I don't love them anymore. Not the company, not like I used to. And that's difficult to say out loud because I grew up on these games. I spent summers chasing stars in Mario 64, winters decorating my Animal Crossing home, racing my siblings in Mario Kart, riding Epona across Hyrule Field like it was the most magical thing in the world. And for me, these were not just games. They were a part of my childhood. And that's why all of this hurts so much, because
Yeah. Yeah, they were definitely, yeah. Like I said, I didn't have a rich childhood, but I played a lot of Nintendo games, and they did deliver a nice break from the mess. From Pokemon to Mario Kart to the other Mario games, even Donkey Kong. Yeah, those games that have magic.
the company that once led with a full
Now
heart
it's
and love for gaming
soulless.
feels like it's running on autopilot, giving us the absolute bare minimum. Comfortable, safe,
Yeah.
lazy, greedy. We're getting less and paying more. And look, the industry as a whole is a bit of a mess right now, but it's still fair for us to ask for better, to feel valued as customers, to want these companies to care. And for a long time, I really believed that Nintendo did, that they were different, that they stood for something. But now it's hard.
Honestly, I believe no company cares. They stood for nothing but to get your money. And when you get older, you realize that these companies don't care about you. They just want your money.
to see how that could still be true. I always joke that my relationship with Nintendo is super toxic because even after all of this, even after how I've seen how they treat their consumers and fans,
Oh, my relationship with Nintendo is definitely becoming toxic, and I'm going to be embracing it.
part of me still hopes that they'll change because they could. It really would be so easy.
They're not going to change, bro. If we don't take a stand as as a community, as a consumer, as a consumer community, like, they're not gonna change, because we're gonna still give them the money. They're not gonna change.
If they wanted to, they could be the company that supports creators instead of silencing them.
We basically gotta make Nintendo beg to get our attention and money. And maybe then when that happens, and there's gonna be a hole in their wallet, they're gonna be like, maybe we should have these content creators make videos on our product to have free promotion. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but that seems like it would be a win-win for all sides.
Shares their legacy
And that's what we want. I'm not gonna be unfair, guys. Win-win on all sides.
instead of locking it away. Prioritizes joy over control.
We get quality games, they get our money.
and evolves instead of punishing innovation. I really would love nothing more than to fall back in love with them, but right now, it just seems like Nintendo is going to keep being Nintendo, just very stuck and too happy to stay that way. The love that I once had for them was so real, and the magic really mattered, but the company behind that magic, it feels further away than ever. If you made it to the end of this video, seriously, thank you so much, and I would love to hear your story. What made you fall in love with Nintendo? Are you still
Hey guys, check out. Well, I don't need to tell you. Like, she's blowing up right now. The background NPC. I like her videos. This was a great video. She did capture the magic. That Nintendo is trying to sell us nostalgia. That's it for me, guys. I am going to take a shower because it's very hot in my room right now, and we gotta stick together. We have to. I don't want to say boycott, but like try to give Nintendo the least amount of our money as possible. We need to have high, not high expectations, but have high. You know what? We should have high expectations for Nintendo games. I will be disliking their games if it doesn't look good, if it's bad frames. Honestly, Nintendo is so rubbing me the wrong way. Like, how are you gonna charge me $80 and your game is not voice acted? That's crazy. I'm fully expecting Pokemon to be voice acted. I'm expecting AZ to be voice acted and Gen 10, because you know they're gonna charge you for Gen 10. Definitely, they're gonna charge you $80. I'm not sure what it is for AZ. I gotta check. But that's it from me, guys. We gotta show Nintendo that the consumer has the power. They don't.